What's up, guys? It's Joel Punisher's Paintball. Today we have a very exciting product release, guys. We have the Carbon Drive Loader, or the DRV. This is Carbon's new featured high-end loader. They've never released a loader before, so we're super excited about this, and we think that it's got some really cool features. So with that said, make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Stay tuned, because we're gonna go through this bad boy. Alrighty, guys, so here we are at our store. We've got a Carbon DRV loader. Thank you so much to D over at Nomads for getting us this loader. To do a little overview of the DRV, super excited about it. It does come in this nice box. Before we get into it real quick, guys, let's talk about retail as well as what's going to be happening with this. So they are not out to the general public yet. Carbon did release a limited amount of loaders already to their sponsored teams to make sure that everything is good to go. They've been spending a lot of time testing this. My first exposure to this loader actually was at World Cup last year, and they just have started putting this loader into people's hands in the last, I don't know, 5 to 6 months. So with that said, they've really been working on this, making sure that they are releasing a premium product. The price tag does reflect that, guys. We are looking at a price point of $299.95 when they do release, but we are getting some premium features here compared to the Spire 5 or the Die R2, wherever the case may be, that we'll get into here in a second. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to open this bad boy up. It does come with a nice case, and what's cool about this case is it is contoured to the profile of the loader. There's no wasted space. You're going to be able to toss it into your gear bag. It is going to feature a rechargeable battery, which we will get into here in a second. You do get your cable there, and you also get your rain lid, which has got its own little nice sleeve there. So it's got a nice wide lid there. Perfectly fits, kind of like the shape of a pod, and it is in typical Carbon fashion, perfectly spaced right there, so you can just toss it in and get in right there. All right, so now taking the loader out, as you guys can see, it is a nice profile loader. Overall capacity of the DRV is going to be 200 paintballs for the shell, and there are some interesting things about the shell that I want to point out. First and foremost, to open up the shell, you are going to have these two tabs here. And you're just going to press it open. It is a hinge shell, very similar to the Spire 5. One thing that I like is how far it opens, though. It's definitely different in that sense. Very, very nice there. And to pop off, or to, I should say, pop open the tray, there is a tab right here. You're going to push there. And another nice thing, very similar to the Virtue loaders, is that the shell here is completely contained, and there is no electronics, there is no motor or anything else like that. So all of this is going to be very easy to wash. One other thing I'd like to mention about the shell before we actually get into the electronics and all that stuff is that it does have a metal feed neck, which is nice. So any concern about potentially cracking your feed neck or anything like that while you're playing is going to be negated. Very nice feature there. And then last but not least, when it comes to the shell, is that you do have this nice speed feed. Remind me about the speed feed here in a minute, Cody, because I do want to touch on the speed feed. All right, and then as far as electronics go, we've got a lot of interesting things going on. I'll walk you guys through the OLED screen here in a little bit. It's got a nice magnetic tray, so you can pop that out if you need to do a simple cleaning in there. It does come with a spring ramp, which is a nice feature, so that all the balls go into the drive tray when you need them to. And then turning on the back, it is going to be a rechargeable battery. And let's see here, it is USB-C, guys. So most phones nowadays are USB-C. You know, obviously if you've got an Android phone, you are going to be charging that way, and the newer Apple phones are now USB-C as well. So it's kind of going towards more universal style of cord. So kudos to them for not doing like a micro USB or a lightning cable or anything like that. Nice feature there. It is really nicely contained here, which is another nice feature I like about it. You know, the motor is there, everything is right here, and it just is, I mean, about as streamlined as it's going to get. So we're going to pop this back into place. you're going to take your kind of like your display area right here, and that's going to go in first. There's a hole in the shell right here. All I'm going to do is just put it in there, and then it just kind of pops into place. And what really locks the tray into place so that it's not going to go anywhere on you is this tab right here, and this tab, which is part of the tray. When you close your shell, it's going to keep that locked into place. So there is no possibility of your tray coming loose in the shell. It's basically contained right there. So super nice feature there. Overall profile, Cody, what'd you say?
Very interesting.
Yeah, so that's one thing that is kind of interesting about the profile of this loader. Was I actually said this to the guys at Carbon when they showed it to me at World Cup last year, which is, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing thing, but I think that, like, I've seen a lot of feedback so far on Facebook, and just comments on Reddit and stuff like that, and you know, most guys aren't going to be super concerned about the aesthetics of it. They're more worried about the performance, and the DRV definitely delivers when it comes to that. So let's actually get into some of the features here. So the loader does come with this nice display. Cody, why don't you come in here and try and zoom in on this just a little bit. When you turn the loader on, it's going to present to you Carbon, and then it is going to give you a game timer there. And if you can, Cody, can you zoom in and make sure that you try and get up top here? There is a few different features up top here, which is really nice, which is basically your overall battery percentage, as well as your force rate, which we'll talk about here, kind of like when we go out and shoot the loader. And then you can actually go in and you can program the force, the timer, if you're on the woods or you're playing mech or scenario, and you can tune the shutdown. So the shutdown I'm kind of curious about. Oh, this is the automatic shutdown. So that's another nice feature about the loader, which is basically after so long, it will automatically turn off. So in the event that it's in your gear bag, you're not going to have any issues there. Let's talk about feed force rate. So feed force rate is basically the concept that there's going to be stack tension. This loader is advertised that it can reach up to 83 BPS, which I think was like 12 milliseconds in between. Carbon did a really good write-up of what actually matters when it comes to cycle rate on the product page for this loader. And I read that, made a lot of sense. One of the things that is important is that stack tension. So what this loader is going to do is it's going to adjust that, which is a really nice feature of the loader. If you've got really brittle paint and you're worried about stack tension being too high in the dry stack, you can turn that tension down so that way you're not breaking paint, because that's one of the opportunities for breaking paint in your loader, as well as obviously diving, which can't do anything about that. So with that said, the other option is if you want to turn your feed force rate up, you can do that as well, which is nice, because if you want to shoot as high rate of fire as you possibly can, I've seen some videos online. There was a nice YouTube video that Paintball Tech did that, you know, they were shooting about 30 balls per second with a bob long. I think it was an Insight, and this thing is going to basically offer you extreme reliability as well as that high rate of fire. So you are going to be able to use it in mech play, which is really nice. It's kind of one of the common complaints with mech players when it comes to the Virtue loaders is that the feed rate isn't, I mean, at 10 balls a second, super reliable, but anything past that, you know, 13 to 15 ball per second range, it really starts to get a little bit questionable. So with the DRV, you're not going to have that issue, and you're going to be able to get extremely high rates of fire, partially due to that drive tension inside the drive stack. Two other things that I'd like to mention, guys, before we actually get out and shoot this bad boy, we are going to mount it on top of a gun and see exactly how it does, is the overall weight of this. Cody and I actually just weighed this compared to a Spire 5 with some batteries in it. It comes in at 1 pound, 5.6 ounces. Was it 5.6 ounces, I think, Cody?
5.6 or 5.8.
Okay, so it was definitely, compared to the Spire 5 with 3 AA's came in at 1 pound, 2 ounces. So it's 3 ounces heavier. You can kind of feel that, but the majority of the weight is towards the back of the loader. So what I think is going to end up happening is once we actually get it on some markers, I think it's going to balance itself out very well. The profile on the back is nice. And then one last thing that I would like to mention is that it does come with this anti-jam technology, which I'm going to try and simulate that outside, get some dimple paint and see if we can actually try and get the jam to see what it does. But basically it's built into the technology of the loader. So in years past, if you had a jam, say with your spire, basically had to take the spire apart and kind of, you know, get your fingers in there, get the drive cone and turn it backwards. With the die loaders, they have the shark fin, so you can do that. That's a manual, you know, thing that you got to do. With this, they're basically advertising that it basically should never jam. I've talked to a few people that have used them so far, and they've put anywhere from, you know, 10,000 to 40,000 cycles through it, and they haven't had any issues with jamming, which is very promising. So that is another nice software feature with the DRV loader. Alrighty guys, so I think that's everything. I think I tried to cover as much as I possibly could. I'm really excited to test this thing out. We will be releasing a members only video for the DRV loader probably sometime in the near future, once we actually get to use it quite a bit and get to test it and make sure that you know, our first impressions line up with what Carbon is advertising. But overall guys, usually Carbon releases extremely good products, and I'm really excited about the DRV loader. Nice features. Basically, one thing that's nice about this is you are going to get that low profile that you want, but on top of that, you are going to get high rates of fire with reliability and anti-jam technology. So that is kind of what Carbon is trying to push with this loader. So with that said guys, enough talking. Let's get outside. Let's shoot this thing. We're going to shoot at 10 balls a second, and then we're going to turn off the rate of fire cap on this, on one of our markers, and we are going to test it and give you guys our honest opinion on it. All right guys, so we are outside. We've got the DRV loader mounted to an Invader CS2. We're going to test this thing right off the bat. So we've got the CS2 turned to ramp with uncapped ramping basically, and we are going to do that, and then we're also going to turn the eyes off, which is programmed at 15 balls a second. Planet Eclipse software, that's the highest, or the highest it'll go when you've got eyes off. We're going to do both and kind of see where we land with the DRV. We're going to turn it on. It is programmed at the highest feed force, which is 5. I believe that's the highest, not the lowest. That's intuitively what would make sense. And both peak and average rate of fire are turned to 0. Let's see what this thing can do. Oh, that's wicked. Okay, so you can actually see the anti-jam technology working. All right, guys. So, peak rate of fire 20.5, and let's see here, 17.7 was the average. So pretty damn quick. Definitely quicker than what you're gonna get with a Virtue loader. Notice it tried to like unjam, and this is fresh Falcon paint, so I was kind of curious. Let's do that again. Holy shit.
It sounds like a machine gun over here.
Wow. That was awesome. That was awesome. I don't even think we need to turn the eyes off, because like it's going to be, I mean, that should be obvious. We're at 20.5. That seemed faster that time. I didn't reset it. That was a lot of fun. Average that time was 18.1.
So that was pretty wicked.
That was fun. And shout out to this Invader CS2 for shooting this Falcon paint without chopping anything, because this Falcon paint's pretty brittle. Pretty brittle. Nope. Yeah. So, working in perfect synchrony. Okay, so I turn the average and the peak back to 0. We're gonna do this one more time here. Oh. That's another hopper. Average 18.2, peak 21.0. It did have a hiccup there, and I'm not sure if it was the loader or if it was the paint, but I did notice that it was trying to reverse, so it could have been potentially the paint there, guys. But man, that thing was fun to shoot, and so far so good. We're gonna throw it on one more marker and do another bag of paint through it, just to see if it has that hiccup in the middle of it. But other than that, I mean, this thing was awesome. All right, guys, benefits of having a store. We got a used CS3 Pro. One thing that I like to mention too is, like, from a balance perspective, although it is 3 ounces heavier, like, it doesn't feel like it. And I think that's partially, like I said, because the majority of the weight's in the back of the loader. So like when I pull up, I don't notice that it's heavier, so that's nice. All right, let's see what this thing's all about. Okay, guys, so we are back outside. We've got the CS3 Pro. We've got a fresh bag of Valken paint, and we are gonna try this with 10 balls a second and just see how she does, and then we're gonna amp it up once again just to do that uncap, because that was a lot of fun. All right, here we go. 10 balls a second. Okay, I think there's gonna be no issues there when it comes to that. So let's make things interesting, and we are going to change it to PSP 2015 with rate of fire off. And we are gonna do that, and we are also going to turn our eyes off rate of fire all the way to 15, and we are gonna shoot that as well at 15 balls a second to see if it can keep up without resetting everything. So actual is at 0, peak is at 0, and let's see what she can do. That is crazy. I'm sold. Like, I'm sold, bro. I'm sold. That is what Cody, you can't even. I'm speechless.
What it hit?
21.5.
And that,
bro. This thing's ridiculous. Okay, just to show you guys, 21.6 peak rate of fire, average 19.7, no hiccups, guys. One more time. You know where to get it, puncherspb.com. All right, guys, so there you have it. That was the DRV loader outside on both a CS2 as well as a lightly used CS3 Pro. I chose that platform because I don't know, but I think that the overall bolt cycle speed on that is relatively quick. So what we were able to get was 21.6 peak rate of fire BPS. Absolutely nuts. It put a smile on Cody's face, and did for sure on my side of things. Average anywhere from 18 to 19 balls a second on the average side of things. I think the average the second time was right around 19.7, which is still nuts for a loader nowadays. We did notice that when we had the feed force rate all the way up to the 5 setting, which I believe is the max, it had this weird thing where it wanted to try an anti-jam. I turned it to 4 and that went away. So I think the 5 could be useful if, like, you're literally just trying to rip all day long. But the 4 seemed to be the sweet spot for the feed force adjustment. And with that, we had no issues shooting 10 balls a second, shooting uncapped ramp. Did really, really well. Overall, guys, I'm super impressed. It is a little bit on the heavier side, but I don't think that's going to be an issue for most people. I think it feels very well balanced. Cody, what do you think?
I was impressed. I was very impressed.
Yeah, dude. I mean, anything besides the aesthetics of it, anything that you don't like?
I wish there was an option for batteries, but
okay, that's a good point. Yeah, they're advertising 30,000 shot cycle with the battery before you have to recharge it. So that's another thing that we will be, testing over time, is how good is the rechargeable battery and how often do you have to charge it. So definitely something to consider, guys. This is going to be a really awesome loader. I think the two things that concerns us would be number one, reliability, but everything carbon is built to last, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. The people that have been using them with Carbon's team program has had good success on that side of things, so I don't think that's going to be a big concern. Price point $299.95. That's obviously a little bit higher than, say, this Virtue Spire 5 or the Dye R2 or the other high-end loaders, the JT Triad, but you are getting some really premium features here. You're getting that OLED screen with the ability to adjust your feed force rate, as well as your countdown timer and all that stuff. So that's a nice feature. And then you are getting the molded case with it. So there is some extra added value, which Carbon usually tries to throw in some extra added value, and they did that with this loader. So guys, with that said, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure that you like and subscribe. You guys know where to pick this bad boy up. If you guys are interested in one, we will be obviously stocking them as soon as they are actually out to the general public. We'll see you guys with the next video.